right, Devils, how we doing today? Sam here with you on Wednesday, August 8th. And we are looking here at the remnants of the Bitcoin bull count. Now, it takes a lot to break a bull, but this is certainly doing it. And you can see here, we're right as I'm recording this, we appear to be taking another leg down here. So let's review here now. This is the 2 hour on Bitstamp, and you know there's some things worth noting here. So last we looked at this, we had moved off of the idea that we had a 2, 3, 4 here. Let's do a little review here. So this is where we left it here. In the last trade that we had looked at, we had been long here at the 618 with a stop under the point of control. Now, I share with you how we traded it in the room. As we moved away from the 618 here on this little move, looks like we might have something started. We bumped up the stop to just under the 618, and just for protection against that type of thing, right? So we took essentially a scratch trade here. If you took a loss, it was inside of $50. So a couple of is it missed opportunity? Well, I suppose you could say that. It's like, you got to remember that every wave count, whether it's up, down, it's always just a potential scenario. There is no certainty. There is no inevitability to it. So just for the sake of review here, when we were considering that we had the potential for this to play as a 1, 2, 3, and a 4, well, excuse me, you can see here we had this little reaction here. So we traded this. We traded the 50. All right. We had this little reaction here. As we got away from it, we bumped the stop up to just below the 50 to protect against just that kind of action. Right. So stop takes us out essentially at a scratch here, although I took a little bit more because I had started buying at the 38. Averaging down here, this was a relatively small loss, but a loss nonetheless. Next opportunity here is, I guess what I'm trying to show you here is, you can note how the market stopped and paused at all of these technical levels. So potentially that's algorithms that are kicking in here that are just overwhelmed by the bear algos, which we'll get to in a second. So this move here is essentially a scratch, just like this is essentially a scratch. And if you really look into these, they just never took the kind of shape that we needed to give us any confidence. Let me go down. Let's go to a 30-minute to give us any confidence in that movement. So when we looked here, let's open this up a little bit. And I think I showed this the other day. We never got, you can see it looked like we had the opportunity here. This could have kicked into a 5-wave structure. We might have had 1, 2, 3, 4. It just never got there. We just never got the push to give us that higher high here, and we roll over. Right? Well, we had essentially a very similar kind of thing here, where it looked like maybe we had something underway. Maybe we had a decent 5-wave structure. The 1 was a little bit ugly. There was, possibly it was a bit of a force fit, I felt like, to try and get 5 out of that, because it looked like we might have had this as a 1, 2, 3, maybe this was the 4, and we were pushing up for the 5. I mean, just so you can see it, get that up. Right, and yet again, we had the same problem. We didn't get the push to break this high to give us that good 5-wave structure. Now, given this event here, in the news-driven event, I don't know that it would have mattered. But it's certainly, it's a bit of a tell. Market just couldn't give us that structure we were looking for. So stops get bumped up to protect against this, and boom, stops take you out. So hopefully stops did their jobs if you were trading that. All right, so let's pull this off, and you are now out of the market, because at this point it's really tough for a bull to come up with a scenario here that gives us any possibility of this recovering here without going back down to challenge these lows. Now, let's put it in context here as to where we are, as we try and reevaluate here as we're taking another leg down here. So, well, it hasn't been destructive to our trading accounts. It's when it's discouraging, right? Because it's this opportunity that was there for a good bullish count. Yeah, it's discouraging, but it's not. Again, we're not damaging our accounts. There's opportunity cost, of course, right? So if you're parking capital here to either you're buying Bitcoin for the little swing trade here or you're leveraging into it, there's the opportunity cost. And then you can flip it around and say, well, there's the opportunity cost. If I had been looking on the bear side, where there would have been a lot of opportunity there. Well, it's just the reality of trading. You have to have some sort of a directional bias if you're going to be in the market. You look for those probability events, those areas where you have the potential for a bullish or whatever scenario you're trading to be realized, but yet you always have to manage the risk. So any opportunity to reduce risk is one that I always encourage people to take. So we had it here on the 50, enough to get at least tighten the stop and reduce the risk. Same situation here as we took it down to that 618 and we considered the possibility that we had a 1-2, and this gave us the opportunity to reduce risk yet again. So as we've now you can see here, now we've blown right through the 786. So technically we are still, this is an internal retracement, but this structure here is now far beyond what we would consider to be a tradable event with regards to considering it a correction. This is now looking much more, pretty much we can eliminate the correction, and we have to kind of strip it bare and say, well, what the hell is going on then? Right? So this is the news event. So, it's somewhat ironic to me that, so we free fall off of, apparently, right, if we believe what we read, that the reason for the free fall is the delay in the ETF. So it strikes me as somewhat ironic that we are selling off because we don't have the additional volume and money coming into crypto that apparently was anticipated off of that ETF getting approved, or at least signs that it was near to getting approved or going to be approved in the future. So we get this sell-off, meaning that while the ETF has been delayed, it's not dead. So if and when it comes in the future, that institutional money, if you will, or however you want to consider that volume that is potentially there to come into the market, is simply going to be coming in at the opportunity to buy Bitcoin at lower prices. It's somewhat ironic, but yet here we are. So as a technician, you gotta decide, all right, what's important to me. So what is dictating how I'm approaching the market? And as a technician, it's only price that matters. So despite whatever your long-term bias is, mine is well established. People know that I'm a bull. Long-term, we cannot fight what we're seeing. What's staring us right in the face is that this now looks impulsive to the downside. So how do we organize it and get our arms around it, get some sense of where we may be going and where the next opportunity is, whether it be long or short? So while technically we still have an internal retracement here until we take out these lows, we are still technically internal. And we have seen Bitcoin do some bizarre things in wave twos, right? So it's not completely off the table. Let's go back out here and let's go back to our 2 hour. Excuse me. So we've seen this kind of action at a wave two. We've seen this kind of action here, this kind of action here. We're seeing a lot of double tops, a lot of double bottoms. Now let's do one thing to review in general. So I'm going to take all of this off as it's just, let's strip it bare. So let's go to, let me remove all drawing tools. All right, so let's review here from the longer term. Well, so the few things we cannot ignore. So always, what did the algos do last? Where are the algo pulls? So this one we've looked at many times, this double top into the 50, still sitting there with this target down here. We'll call it 3,300 just to round it up. So that is still sitting there and has not moved. And those algos that sold there are just, they sit quietly, right? There's no person going, yeah, go down Bitcoin, right? It's just software. There'll be buy orders here to take it out should we go down there. But we've had a few other places where algos may have been adding along the way. So if we, noting that that's there, well, of course, we had this one as well. So from here, right? So this, despite a very slight, like a couple of ticks through the 6.5 there, That is sitting, that sell has been sitting with this target, right? Again, nobody at the machine with their finger on the mouse rooting for Bitcoin to go down. It's just an algorithm written to sell it, and they'll take profit here if and when it gets there. Well, we've had a series of these. So note, with that now established, note what we had this twice in a row. So if I take it from here to here, right? So we did the same thing. So look what we did here. So we know these were 250s. This was golden zone. This was golden zone. Perhaps this was the significant tell that we in the bull camp wanted to ignore, is that we went right to the 65 to the tick and couldn't get through it. Well, where's that? So that we sit here. So we have this zone here. So this has a target down here. So we've got this cluster, this confluence zone down here. So this algo's got a target here. This algo's got a target here. All right. So we've got this hot box down here, where we've got this confluence of algos looking for targets that have yet to be realized. Now, does that mean we must be going down here? No, it does not mean that, but it's certainly something to be aware of. So if we're going to break these lows down here, what are we, 57, 77? If these lows, and it looks like they're going to be challenged, if these break, that's the logical next target. And then, of course, we have the bigger one that we were looking at prior. Let's get that on here so we can get them all lined up. So from this pivot to this pivot, right, which with this lining up next to, you note here, we've got this confluence. Excuse me, still getting over this cold. We've got this confluence down here at the second algo target for these two, and then we've also got the larger negative 23.6 for all of this. So it certainly would look like this has just been an algo short seller's delight, right? They caught it here, caught it here, caught it again here. So with that in mind, it makes you wonder if there is a retracement, you know, what would the next play be? So if we're going to go from here, if and when we get a pivot down here, I don't know, we certainly can't call it there, but just if let's say we double bottom down here, and we're going to come back up. If we're going to come back up into something to push either the 50, the 618, we got to anticipate that odds are that, again, as I will often tell you, you trade these until they fail. So with all of that set up as resistance that we're going to need to fight through, boy, it's hard to make a bullish case for this. So we've got to try and get our arms around the larger count. Now, many of you may well have looked at my partner's video from a couple of days ago when Quan posted that, and that's certainly one that I would encourage you to look at, as he and I are taking turns with the bull-bear view. And with regards to Bitcoin, I've stayed on the bull side. He's been on the bear side. So I would encourage you to go back and watch that video. Excuse me. So much good content in there for you. Sorry. Still on the tail end of this bug. Okay, so let's try and put our arms around it. Just hang on a second. Sorry, guys. I certainly don't want to do that into the mic. Okay, I'm back. All right, so let's try and get our arms around this. So here's my best effort here to try and figure out where we are with regards to a longer term count. Now, this is, again, me just kind of breaking out of any bullish bias here and saying, well, okay, where are we likely going? So I've got a pitchfork on this, looking for potential here, and right next to this A wave would be the next tap here. So I'm going to pull this off just to clear up the chart. So it seems like we may have the possibility here that we have a WX and that we're going into a Y, but after finishing this X, it would appear that we may well be going into an ABCDE. So if we line this up here with this, and let's get back here. When we think about where this might be going, well, here, if I take from here's my A, this kind of what I'm coming up with here, and this being potential targets down here. If this is going to play this way, if we're going to continue to move down here, well, at some point here, we're going to get a pivot that may set us up for, and shit, could go up here. We just don't know what this is going to look like and how deep this A is going to be. So we may have something like this, and then coming down like that. That's a possible roadmap here that we might look at if we're going to continue with this, and we're going to finish this E wave here with an ABC. Right, remains to be seen. Right now we're just in free fall. So if we were to dig in, I'm going from a 4 hour, let's go down to a 1 hour and dig in here. So if that's a D here, and we're going to line all of this up. Okay, so 1, 2, this certainly looks like 3. I have this as AB, some sort of a 4 going in here, and the 5 yet to be determined as to where we're going there. So we could do a couple of things, right? Try and get a baseline as to what to anticipate. So we can get it right on here. The length of the 1 projected from this double top here that I'm proposing is a 4. A couple of different ways to count this. I think you've got an A, B, slightly expanded B wave here into a C for our 4, and then we've gone straight down. So here's a reasonable target as we've now broken the 1272. Here's the 1618, 175. That would be an extreme for a 5th relative to the 1, but we could get there. So we're getting a little bit of a retrace here, but it's far from calling that up. We're certainly not ready to call that a pivot just yet. So let's take that off here. So and there's virtually no signs of divergence down here as we're putting in new lows here with this move down here. Not much help from the oscillators, as you would anticipate, that we're pinned down here into oversold territory, but we can stay pinned and oversold for a long time. So looking at this, now it's a matter of where's the 4. It looks like this is some sort of a 3-4. So there may be, if we go down to the 15-minute here, there may be. I don't love this. All right, so there is the possibility that we've got this as ABC, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's consider that. That could be what's at play here. 1, 2. This looks like maybe 3, 4, and we're going down for 5 here. Looks like we might have a triangle here. So yet again, just looking for potential areas of support. So we've got this one established down here. Here's our 1618. Now I'm looking for areas of potential support, not with the idea, excuse me, of being a buyer, but just looking for some signs of technical evidence that we may have an area that we're looking for a pivot. So if I look here and I just take from my 2 here, if that's my 3, that's a 4 to the 23.6, even though I think what we end up with here is a little triangle. And now we've just tagged that algo target here. So it's a candidate there. It's possible we might have a low in there for this A wave here, but I certainly would not be anticipating anything other than this if this is going to continue. So let me pull back out. Let's go, we'll go to a 30-minute. If this is going to pull back out, we're just completing an A wave. And that the next up will be some sort of a B to correct that. ABC into a B. Let's think about where that could go. So pulling all of this off, again, we don't know, but that's a candidate, and we don't know that that's our pivot there. If we were to get something like this, so you can see the B wave here. So what we'd be looking for next opportunity, if and when we can identify we've got a pivot, it's either here or here, somewhere in this zone. Then we'd be looking for the move down yet again. I'm so sorry. I wish I could get through this without that, but tail end of this bad cold. Okay, so that leaves us with the A. Potentially now we'll wait and look for some more evidence here, but this is a candidate here. Looking for the B now. All right, that's all we're after. Where's our next B? The next opportunity would be for a sell. Now, if we get down here and we're coming into that trend line, then we might look at it and say, is this an area to be looking for potentially some support down here? Possibly, right? All of this stuff lines us up. That's all possibly down there. But given the difficulty of Bitcoin to trade on the long side and this very long extended correction, I think we're past the point. We don't have the kind of structure to support taking a buy at the pivot turn of the low. No reason to do it. So on the smaller degree, we'd look for some sort of a 5-wave, just like we were looking for it before. We'd look for some confirmation that we get a 5-wave structure, that we get a motive wave off of a significant pivot, and then we look for the ABC. And then the first time to be a buyer is once we've got that completed, then we're looking for the third, 4 and 5. That's what I see the next opportunity for a bull. I'm not an advocate of trying to pick the exact turn, particularly in a long established trend like this. There's just no reason to do it. The risk reward is not favorable. So let's wait and get some confirmation that we get a motive wave and then look for the first retrace. That's what I'm advising my members. And if you're following me here and you're longer term maintain a bullish bias, as so many do, it's just a matter of, when does it turn? If it turns, how far down do we have to go? How important is this ETF? I mean, so is Bitcoin's future resting on this ETF being approved? I'm not prepared to go there. Certainly it won't hurt, right? It certainly gives us the opportunity for more Wall Street money to come in, but there's plenty of Wall Street money in already. The question is, what are they doing? Right now, it would appear that they're selling it, or somebody certainly is doing well on the short side. So if you've been in the bear camp and you've been following my partner Quan through his series, you're having a very good day. If you're in the bull camp following me, well, we're not getting hurt, but we're not getting ahead. So that in itself is a bit of a victory. So that ability to enter the market where we have these potential zones and be able to get in, reduce risk because we had the technical reaction we were looking for, well, it's discouraging. There's no question about it, because the potential kick to the upside, if and when we find a pivot down here that's significant and we start to get a new trend established, is going to be epic, I think. So it's just now a matter of identifying when's the opportunity. Well, we had it. We had the potential for it. Right, it was the break of this shelf. This is what killed the bull, right here. So when we broke this, the possibility for this to be the time, for this to have been, no matter how you counted it, for this to be the spark of the new wave. Once we broke that, let's see, we can take all this off. Once that was broken, the bull case was really in trouble, because this was the last area of support we had for this potentially to. Let's see, can I do it that way? Let's see if I can do it. Yeah, that was our last chance for that. And now with that broken, that we really have broken the bull there. At least the bull relative to this being the significant pivot. Now, at this point, it just looks to me like it's just a process of going down to test these lows. Are they going to hold? They could. They certainly could. They've been tested multiple times here if we look at this. So even if we just kind of draw this up here. So where are we sitting right now? These lows bring in this prior low here. So this is going to be significant. Let's call this, well, let's split the difference. We'll call it 5,800 as we go down to test these lows here at 57, at the high 57s. This will be interesting. Now, a break through that. If we break this, well, we're going to have some trend line support here, and we have those levels down here. We're now getting into some dangerous territory. Now, remember, we always had the big pull, the big target, as I showed you when we started. This has been sitting here the whole time. Right, this down here, 3,200. So if we break here, it doesn't guarantee that we get there, but it means that bears are going to be licking their chops looking at that. So again, let's kind of reconstruct here. The last significant one we had was here, right? So there's that 65, and here's that target here. So if we're going to break here, this would be where I'd expect us to go next. And you can kind of see this. We've got this low volume node down here, right at that potential target. Right, this prior pivot over here to the left. This prior pivot here. You see this low volume node here, as we will be if we're going down there, as we approach this excuse me, this algo target. We've got this little divot down here of low volume, which may very well come into play here, as the market may reject that. So there is certainly the possibility that we, after some sort of a retracement, we come up here and then we're pushing down one more time before that finishes. This would move all of this over here. So potentially now that's an area to be watching for. It may well be going that low. It'll surprise me. It surprises me. The fact that this didn't hold surprises me. Yeah, there it is. All right. So you trade what you see, not what you think. So there is no way to put lipstick on a pig there and turn it into a bull. That's just an ugly, ugly chart, right? For a bull, right? Beautiful for a bear. If you sold this golden zone, you're sitting pretty, right? We in the bull camp, well, we haven't been hurt, but we aren't making money. So we wait, right? Right now, I certainly would not be trying to buy into the B wave here if that's what we get. I wouldn't be a buyer there. If you're a seller, if you're comfortable selling, there's likely another opportunity to catch the short side down because this is likely not the end of it. So there's likely going to be another opportunity to sell it, looking for this target. We got 47.75 down here, knowing that the big number down here at 3,200 remains alive, right? From that 50, still there. So it's going to be interesting to see. Bulls are wounded, no question. We're wounded, right? But we're not out and we're not underwater. So we sit and wait, and we sharpen our horns and wait for the next opportunity to try and find a good high probability event where we can look for that new trend to start. All right, that's probably enough for that. I'm going to be back with a look at Ethereum per the voting that we did on Twitter. So I'll be back with you shortly.